Hi everyone! In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to create this really fun artwork inspired by a very influential artist named Keith Haring. He rose to fame around the 1980s, and he was a pop artist, a muralist, and a graffiti artist. Keith Haring is most often recognized from his really bold and brightly colored figures that appear to be moving because of his use of motion lines. To create this artwork today, you're only going to need a blank white piece of paper, a pencil that has an eraser on it, a black marker. I'll be using a permanent marker, but a regular black marker or black crayon is fine, and some crayons. You could also complete this using markers, colored pencils, or even paint if you wanted to. Our first goal is to create a bunch of different Keith Haring figures and fill the page with them. So I'll put a small picture up in the top right just to remind you of what some of his figures looked like, and hopefully you can use this to help guide you in choosing what figures you'd like to create on your page. You'll see that the first figure I'm drawing is not so big that it takes up the entire page, and it's not so small that it's tough to see it. This is around the size that all of our shapes are going to be. We want to be able to fit at least 7 or 8 on this paper, so you want to plan the space accordingly. You can choose whichever Keith Haring figures you would like to do, or you can even try inventing your own. If you'd like all of them to be human-shaped, that's fine, or if you'd like to do a sampling of a bunch of the different types of shapes and designs he does, that's fine too. If you're having some trouble drawing these Keith Haring style people, I'm going to give you a little trick. You want to start by drawing very lightly with your pencil a stick figure in the position that you want your person to be in. Once you're finished your stick figure, you're going to draw a line around it, almost like a shell or a coating. You want to think of that stick figure as your skeleton, and the outside line as your skin. Once you're done doing an outline around that stick figure, you'll go back in and erase the stick figure shape, and you should be left with a figure that looks like one of Keith Haring's humans. Now, I highly suggest practicing that step on a separate piece of paper if you think you're going to have some trouble with it. Okay, back to our main drawing. I'm going to do that step I just showed you on my dry erase board on my final paper. Once again, I'm starting with a stick figure, pressing very lightly with my pencil. I think I'll do a shape where my figure has one leg bent and one leg straight, and then pressing harder with my pencil, I'm going to trace around an outline around that stick figure, making it a little bit thicker, putting some meat on his bones. And when I'm all done tracing that, I'm going to erase the stick figure that I started with. So to finish the first part of this drawing, I'm going to go through and create probably around 6 or 7 more unique Keith Haring shapes or figures. I am going to speed this part up, so please feel free to pause or rewind if you need something to repeated, or you just need a little bit more time to draw your Keith Haring shapes. Okay, now that I'm finished with all of my figure drawings, it's time to trace everything with a black marker. And that's because Keith Haring's artwork almost always had very bold black outlines around his images. Alright, since I'm using permanent marker, I definitely want to put a placemat under my paper so the ink doesn't leak through. And then I am ready to just trace over all of my pencil lines. And something I like to do during this step is just make any touch-ups or corrections with the marker because I'll be erasing the extra pencil lines later. Another thing I want you to do now, if you haven't already with the pencil, is to create your motion or action lines around all of your figures. They can just be very short lines around the head of your figure, or you can even do small curved lines that almost look like quotation marks around any arms or legs that you want to appear to be shaking or moving or dancing. You're going to want to repeat this around every one of the shapes or figures that you've created. Once I'm done outlining with marker and adding any additional motion or action lines, I'm just going to go through with an eraser and pick up any leftover pencil that is peeking through. Our next step is to add color to our artwork. Now, Keith Haring was known for his very bright, bold, flashy colors, so we're going to be using a lot of different colors when filling in our shapes. I think I'll start by coloring this person green, and if you'd like here, you can actually use a limited color scheme or a limited color palette, and that's just choosing 3 or 4 colors to color all of your shapes in with. You could do that, or you could take the approach that I'm going to take, and that is using as many different colors as possible to fill in my figures. The only color I ask you to avoid right now is red. We're going to take red, and I'm just going to set mine aside for now because we have a step at the end of the lesson using this color and we don't want to distract from that. You can still use colors like red violet and red orange, but that classic straight red color we're going to save for the end. Okay, time to bring that red back in that we set aside earlier. This is going to be used to fill in any of our empty space that we have. You'll see I'm just going to be putting in some random shapes and lines in any of my leftover white space. I'm not coloring it in, I'm just creating more motion or action lines all the way around in any negative space that I have. You also might notice that I'm not overlapping or crossing with any of the lines that I've previously drawn. I might even take this opportunity to sneak in a few more Keith Haring figures that I wanted to add to my drawing. Another thing Keith Haring was famous for was filling up the entire page or canvas. He loved adding lots of lines and shapes, and this always made his artwork look very lively and exciting, so that's why we're doing it to our artwork. Alright, once you are all finished adding your extra red lines, that means that you are done. How did it turn out? Now, we do want to sign our name, and artist always signs their work. I'm just going to use my black marker and write my name in the bottom right corner. I really hope you enjoyed this lesson. I love Keith Haring, and I love how happy and exciting and colorful his artwork is. Next week, I'll even post a short video showing you some of my Keith Haring t-shirts and my Keith Haring shoes that I painted. Okay, everyone, until next time, bye-bye!